Alright, SSL Family Dad here with Simple Suburban Living, and today I just thought I would kind of run through some of our yard and areas where we're gardening and kind of show how we're utilizing the space that we have. We have a little less than 3/4 of an acre here in our backyard, probably about a half of an acre or less, where we're trying to utilize as much space as we can to grow food and fruits and vegetables and other types of things. So I thought I would kind of give a little bit of a tour of our yard and just kind of show you how we're utilizing that space, give you some tips and tricks on how to kind of grow in tight spaces and some things that might help if you're looking to do something like this, and just kind of show the overall picture of what we're growing, and also give kind of some future plans and some things we're planning on expanding on more of that have worked really well for us. So we'll start up here with the chickens. Okay, so if you've followed along with the channel at all, you've seen the chicken coop, but this has been probably one of the biggest impact things that we've done as far as kind of being sustainable and self-reliant and things like that. The chickens produce, we have 6 Isa Brown chickens here in the chicken coop. They each produce 1 egg per chicken per day, so we have 6 eggs or half a dozen eggs every day. From our little chicken coop here. It's a very small footprint, it's automated, so we've got, we just had to come out and fill it up with food and water every few days, and the chickens have just been awesome for us. So they also eat a lot of our food scraps and any types of clippings or anything from the garden that we don't use, and that all gets kind of recycled back, and they produce more food for us. So the chickens have been an awesome part of our small little backyard homestead here. The chicken tractor portion, this whole run portion here, actually disconnects, and I can hook a tractor up to that and move that around the yard, and then they can scratch and eat fresh grass and dig for bugs and stuff like that. And we also let them out in free range in our yard and in areas that we can contain them, because they will scratch up gardens and things like mulch around trees and things very quickly. So we try to keep them contained as much as possible. But the chickens have been awesome for us, and that's been kind of the center of and where we kind of started with trying to be more self-reliant and self-sustainable, things like that. So this just kind of sits up under a tree here in the back corner of our yard, out of the way. And the next kind of thing we've been doing more of this year is we have this 6-foot privacy fence, and that runs all the way down the length of our yard here. And that's just kind of wasted space. So what we did was just kind of made about a 36-inch wide garden bed and dug that all up and amended it with a lot of compost and some peat and some sand, tilled up that soil, and then we're using that as garden space. We've got a whole variety of things we grow in here, and it's a very small space, but it gets great sunlight throughout the day. And so we're able to grow tomatoes here. You'll see we've got some corn sticking out in the front of the beds there. This is actually popcorn. We're growing, trying that this year. And you'll see some sunflowers up here popping out in the back of this area. And then along the ground here, you'll see some yellow flowers. These are cantaloupes and pumpkins and other types of vining plants that kind of grow along the ground and up out of the front here. And they also kind of find their way up the top of the fence here sometimes. So I think we've got a pumpkin up there somewhere. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we've got quite a few pumpkins growing in here, so that'll be nice for Halloween this year. But what we've been trying to do is just kind of grow some ground cover type crops here. The tomatoes, they're kind of bushy and they kind of take up more space. And then we'll use the corn and the sunflowers that will grow up a lot taller than any of the other things, and so they can all get sunlight. And so that's how we've been kind of managing, cramming a whole lot into a small space. A lot of this stuff is definitely too close together. It may not produce or grow as well as it would if it had the adequate amount of space, but it still does very well. You also see kind of in between here, we've got some apple trees. These we planted from seed, and we're continuing to plant more fruit trees every year. We've got a pear tree here that's getting quite big. Another pear tree over here back by the chicken coop that we just planted this year. And so we continue to add more fruit trees every year as well. The square foot gardens, this is kind of an ever-expanding garden. This whole area that you see here will all be covered with the same kind of scheme. These are 3-foot by 6-foot square, or not squares, I guess rectangles, 3-foot by 6-foot rectangular garden beds here, raised beds, and there are 6 of them in this area right here. Each one of them has a trellis on the right-hand side, and then so this is actually the north side, and that's the south side down there. So the sun gets all of the crops here very well throughout the day. We always plant something that's going to vine or be tall on one side, and then we have kind of low crops in the rest of the bed. So we have carrots here, onions here, and then the peas are on this side. It's the same scheme all the way down these 3 beds. And then over here we have potatoes, which are actually dying back and ready to harvest, and we've got cucumbers growing on the trellis here. These cucumbers, these are all kind of the smaller variety pickling type, and they just went absolutely crazy. They've kind of taken over. We have basil in here. You can see some of that growing down there, and some of it popping up here. It's going to seed. We had some spinach growing in there too that kind of got overtaken. You could prune these back a little bit, but we got lots of harvest out of the lower beds here before the cucumbers took over. So we've got lettuce growing down here, cilantro here, it's going to seed. We've got dill growing here as well, and then again we've got all cucumbers. Now just these two square foot gardens, or 2 square foot raised beds with the 2 trellises here. The cucumbers we're harvesting right now between 20 and 30 of those cucumbers per week, and so they're very, very, very productive, and we still have a long way to go. We still have 2 months of growing season left in the year, so very, very good producers. Back over here along the fence, we've got, again, we're using this space to grow fruit. In this case, we've got a couple different varieties of raspberries, and I don't know, I think we've harvested most of them. A little tiny one, some down here that are kind of getting ready. But these spread, and so I'm going to kind of get a support system put in place here. I don't have anything this year, they're just kind of going wild. But these eventually will just continue to spread down our fence line each way, and that's fine. We'll just let them continue to grow out every year and take up more space. So more tomatoes. These ones I planted a little bit late and not in as good of soil, and so these ones are kind of stunted, not doing quite as well. On the back there we've got some grapes that will eventually, we will trellis up this whole fence up here, and we've got 3 different grape plants that will grow on the back of the fence there. You can see them kind of growing up the fence here in different areas, and so those will overtake and kind of grow up this whole fence. I'm going to trellis that off using that fishing line method I've talked about before. You can see the fishing line back there, nice and kind of hidden, and so that way we can keep the grapes growing in the back, and then we can still grow tomatoes and other things up here in the front of those. More corn kind of sticking out here, and tomatoes, lots of tomatoes this year. Sunflowers didn't do as good this year. This is our best one. It's about 7 feet tall. Normally by this time of year we have much taller and more sunflowers. It's about August 1st now. But corn kind of growing up in here. We've got some corn that did get shaded out in the back here. You can see kind of, again, a little bit of a learning process. The corn I should have placed all in the front of these beds, and as you can see, when it's in the front it gets more sun, and it's done a lot better that way. All these tomatoes in here, a lot of these still have to be staked up. I'm actually going to do a video on that, how we're doing that to keep these. And then down here, this is a real high shade area, and so we grew some lettuce and things like that we harvested, and then a bunny got in here and harvested the rest for us. And we've got some cantaloupes in here that we might get a cantaloupe or 2 the rest of the year, but these are way behind. So we'll probably grow some high shade crops back here next year. There's some oregano back here that's kind of growing slowly. But so that's how we're utilizing that along the fence there, and you could do that anywhere along your house or anywhere. Just dig it up and make a small garden bed. Over here we've got our orchard area. This is an orchard that we're just kind of in the process of building, so it's not quite finished yet. We've got our Honeycrisp apples, which are the best apples. We've got 2 of these Honeycrisp trees, another little spot for tomato. Another thing we're going to do with this area next year is we're going to put all of our vining crops out here so they can vine up across this mulch. All free mulch from the city park. Little Granny Smith apple tree, watermelon that's definitely not going to give us any watermelons this year, but I'm just kind of letting it grow. It's way behind. This year, another apple tree. We planted a lot of these from seed. It's another apple tree. It's another Honeycrisp. Doesn't have any apples on it. And so this is just a small section. You can kind of see it from far back here. small section we just kind of squared off and filled in with mulch, cardboard underneath everything, keep the grass down, and we're just going to keep planting fruit trees out here and expanding this, so we'll have a decent sized little orchard back here when we're done. And just kind of take you back up here really fast, and this is all just in the backyard. We also have some stuff in the front yard. Along our pool deck here, we've got these yew bushes that are growing. They don't grow super fast, and so now while we've got space in between them, we're utilizing that space to grow some tomatoes. And we also had some sunflowers back here that didn't do so well. This one's real behind. We've also got some pots from in different places. These are some of those dwarf Roma tomatoes, the clones that I got out of the aquaponics system. Our orange tree that we take in for the winter, or clementine tree. It's up here on the pool deck. And so while these bushes are growing, you utilize that space. This will be nice landscape eventually, but in the meantime, why not utilize that space to grow some food? This is something I just added this year, the patio stones and this whole garden bed up by the house. Again, this is all free mulch and compost from a local farm. We've got strawberries in here, so they'll kind of take over this whole area. We've got some flowers and things that'll grow up in the front. This is going to be kind of a perennial garden, so we're going to do a lot of herbs and things that will just keep coming back each year. We've got rosemary, we've got some lavender that's might make it, catnip, lemon balm, chives. We're going to add some other type of perennial stuff back here as well that will just kind of keep coming back every year. Up here in this little area, I've got a little cucumber plant. I've got some beans. I had a bunch of peas up here as well, and they're kind of past their time, like I said. So those will get torn out, and we'll replant them again for another harvest. Cucumbers up here. Any space I have that I can let stuff kind of vine along the ground. I've got this kind of wasted landscape place along here with these white rocks. So this cucumber plant, I just planted it up here, and I'll just let it kind of vine all along there. Giant cabbage from my daughter's school project that the slugs have been having a field day with. So I finally got at those with some salt and took care of them. But that's kind of the majority of the space that we have, and every year we're going to add more. So we'll add more square foot gardens here next year and just continue to expand our production there. We'll continue to widen the garden beds along the fence and add more of that space. We're going to continue to landscape and redo a lot of our flower beds and things like that we have in the front with edible types of herbs and other types of plants that will produce something for us. And so really what it's all about is getting as much as you can in the smallest amount of space as possible and utilizing every little bit of space that you have. We can't do a regular traditional garden. This whole area in the middle of our yard that gets all the sun right now is all our septic tile field, and we can't plant a garden there. And underneath here we've got, there's piping and other things that we can't really dig up, and so that's why these raised beds are going to work perfectly for us here. So hopefully that helped you guys out, gave you a little quick tour. I know probably run a little bit long on the video here. I apologize about that, but if you guys have questions, of course, let me know, and I'll continue to kind of show you the progress as we add things and change things and learn, and we'll share what we know. Alright, so that's basically just a quick tour around the yard, just to kind of show you how we're taking advantage of every little nook and cranny. We've got a lot of spaces to still kind of cultivate into garden areas. We've got more space in our front yard and other places landscaping around the house that we're going to kind of convert over into herb gardens and different things like that. There's just so many options, Even if you have a full shade area, there are still things that you can grow. There are lots of plants that grow well in cool temperatures and shade, peas being one of them. And so, just really need to kind of do your research and figure out what will grow best in which areas of your home that you have, and plant things accordingly. So we're going to be ever expanding, our gardens here, and hopefully we'll be able to eventually become, almost self-sufficient. I would like to be able to grow all of our own vegetables that we'll use throughout the whole year. Be able to can and freeze everything that we'll need. So that's kind of the end result or the end goal that we're going to be looking for here. And it just goes in stages. Every year we add a little bit here and there. So hopefully this inspired you if you have a city lot or a yard like this, and gave you some ideas. Maybe you guys have suggestions if you're something, if you're an expert on this stuff and you want to add something that we could do differently, or what you do at home that really works. That would be great. I'd love to hear it. So please throw your comments down below. Please hit thumbs up on the video. I always appreciate it. Any support that you guys give us is always much appreciated. And subscribe to our channel. We've got all kinds of different things that we're doing throughout the year. Sustainable stuff, DIY things. We have aquaponics. We do the chickens. We have gardening things that we do as well. Home repairs, and anything else you can think of that you'd need to know how to do around a small homestead. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.